Hi, first grade. I'm here today with a book. You might remember that we read Rosie Revere Engineer in the beginning of the year. Do you guys remember that? Well, this is the second or another book in that series, Ada Twist Scientist. There's three of them. I don't have the third book. It's about an architect named Iggy. I need to order that. Anyways, I love this story and you're in for a treat, so sit back and enjoy. And if you'll see, Rhett's actually sleeping in the video this time. Too funny. All right, you ready? Ada Twist Scientist is by Andrea Beatty, who wrote the other books too, and illustrated by David Roberts. I'm going to take off this book jacket so we have some flexibility with the story. Ready? It's a bit of a longer book, so just letting you know. Ada Marie, said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and made her big break, with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day, chasing each sound and sight, and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. Lots of illustrations in this book, so check them all out if you can while I'm reading. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak, as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly young Ada, who, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. So think about any babies you might know or babies in your family. When do they start to talk? They start babbling before they're even 1, and they're usually talking around 2, 3. So if she's not talking, that's why her parents were a little bit concerned. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and simply asked, "Why?" Think about that. When you scare a little kid or a baby and they get startled, their lip starts to quiver because they're about to cry. Why does it tick and why does it talk? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside your nose? She started with why, and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it out." So Ada's got lots of questions about the world around her. Think about which subject do we usually stop and ask ourselves questions before we start in school. We do it in more than one, but usually science. We stop and make a hypothesis about something, right? A guess. Whew, tongue twister. All right. Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid. Why? What? How? When? Why? Oh, and then a lot more. Whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Even Miss Greer found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. Do you remember that's the same teacher from Rosie Revere Engineer, Miss Greer? Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zowie," said Ada, which got her to thinking. What is the source of this terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ava loved best. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true. The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis 2. Right? Our first guess isn't always the right one. You have to be able, if you're a scientist, you have to be able to change your ideas and your guesses and thoughts. Then, zowie, the stink struck again. Just like that, hypothesis 2, it was caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume of some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop!" You can't put a cat in the washer, right? Even for the sake of science. Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now. By the time we count to 3. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her father said, Go. You've ruined our supper. You've made our cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. So she's trying to do some things and learn and make guesses and understand the world around her, but it ended up getting her into trouble, right? And her parents got frustrated. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. Now she's upset, right? Because she was trying to do something that she thought was a good thing, right? And she got upset, and now she's not talking again. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat. And she thought about science and Stu and the cat, and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is it part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked 2. And each of those led her to 3 questions more, and some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. I want you to take a look. Where is she writing all of her questions down, though? Does that look like a good idea? Think about, guys, when we're studying nonfiction and we're doing one of those KWL charts, know, want to know, and learn, we often come up with more questions as we ask questions, right? Her parents calmed down, and then they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. That's what that word means. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was about? They smiled and whispered, We'll figure it out. How do you think? Do they look mad now, or are they more curious? Or what are we going to do with her? She's not going to stop her science and her questions, right? So they might have to change what they're thinking. And that's what they did, because that's what you do. When your kid has a passion and a heart, that is true. They remade their world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asked lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. So now her parents have kind of started to understand how Ada's brain works, and now they're supporting her. And as for that smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question. And someday, who knows? The end. I love that book. I think it's a good reminder to always keep asking questions about the world around you, and to know that it's okay that you might not find out. You usually don't find out the answers right away, especially when something can be tough or new. You're not going to know the answers right away. This story is based off of a real-life scientist and mathematician that was named Ada Lovelace. So, really cool book. I'm going to try and get the Iggy Peck Architect. I think that's what it's called. I don't know when it will get here in time, but I'll let you know if I get it. All right? Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys later. Bye.